So this episode is definitely for you if you feel like God's asking you to do something and you do not have enough money to do it.
Hi, I'm Marisha.
And I'm Antoine. And this is the Great Unknown Tour podcast. The purpose of this podcast is to help people create a roadmap to step out on faith and embrace their adventure with God.
For 1 year, we'll be traveling with our 2 kids, interviewing couples about trusting God during times of uncertainty. So, what are we getting into today?
Great question. So we're going to give a tour update. Some things have transpired since the last time we were, with you all. And then we're going to tell them about the Chicago miracle.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Which is when God asked us to, during the first Great Unknown tour, where God asked us to go to Chicago, but go to Chicago for 2 weeks, but we only had enough money for 2 nights. Ugh. So this episode is definitely for you if you feel like God's asking you to do something and you do not have enough money to do it, and you're gonna and stepping out will make you so vulnerable and feel like disaster might be waiting at your door. This episode is for you. Now, if you are on Apple Podcasts, if you're listening to us on Apple right now, thank you so much. And also, thank you for leaving a 5-star review. Please do that if you're liking the podcast so far. And if you're on YouTube, what up, fam? Thank you for subscribing. And leave a comment about what God is talking to you about through these episodes. But let's get into it.
Let's go.
All right. Welcome to episode 5.
I don't even know.
It's episode 5. It's
Okay.
episode 5. I've been keeping track.
Okay.
It's exciting. Funny story. We actually have an episode 5. We interviewed my sister and brother-in-law, but the sound messed up. So,
We did so much.
we did
to do
so
that
much.
interview.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that was heartbreaking. Well, that might be hyperbolic, but that was discouraging that the audio didn't work. But I learned personally so much, and I took notes about all that we would do differently next time. So if they're down, we'll do it again, but it'll be a lot better. We'll be a lot more prepared.
We did pretty good for just starting out and last minute and
sure.
2 kids.
Yeah, for sure.
So.
I think so. So this is unofficially episode 5B. Or episode 6. We'll see what it's called when it comes out.
Oh man.
But into the tour update. So, what?
We kept your sister up so late.
Yeah, my sister, shout out to my sister Danielle. She is a early riser, early go to bed person. But I like getting up early, but she at 9, she just is 9 p.m. It's a wrap. So she stayed up late for us. I appreciate that. Let's talk about the tour though. Talk about the tour update. So as you know, we're working towards traveling the U.S. for a year, getting the RV, driving around with the kids, interviewing people like you watching this to help people build a roadmap so they can step out on faith and embrace their adventure with God, so we can interview couples about, trusting God during times of uncertainty, and also seeing the country, taking our kids to see America. We did it a little, well, no, we did a lot of it during the first Great Unknown tour in 2016, but now, because we have kids, I think I'm a little bit more acclimated mentally to national parks and wanting to do that. And especially our kids, they love being outside and they need being outside, to be outside. So we're definitely also going to do those kind of things because we can't travel at a super fast pace with the kids. I can't say we can't, but it would be a wise idea, in my opinion, knowing our kids, to just sometimes take some breaks, go to national parks, let them dwell and wonder in that way. And
Yes.
so some of our big prayer points has been the RV. And if it's not a Class A, which looks like a tour bus, then an RV with a trailer, but we need a car to tow it. So our big prayer is just getting those things solidified and also bringing in the income to pay for those monthly bills. But since the last time we talked, a friend of ours, it's amazing. A friend of ours offered us to rent their RV for the year that we needed for the cost of $700.
Oh, TMI.
That's TMI.
Maybe not. I don't know. Everything is TMI.
Well, I just want to put it out there for the people if they want to help. If they want to help, if someone's like, "Yo,
Okay.
I can cover your
Okay.
expenses renting the trailer for the year," because what we're doing is a nonprofit. Like we're not. This tour isn't about getting money.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? This tour is about helping people. So if you want to help us pay to rent the RV every month, that $700 is just like house rent. We would love that. We would love that. Otherwise, we're doing things like podcasts. I have a marketing agency. There's other things we're doing for income. But if you want to help be a part of it in that way, that would be amazing. That's why we're telling them the number.
Okay.
But let's back up though. Let's back up.
Yes. Back up.
These are friends. They've been traveling in their own RV
Yes.
for this year. They settled in the Seattle area, and they've been, resting, doing their thing there. And I mean, she said, the wife we know said they've been praying about it, reached out to us, and offered it, and it was just mind blowing because that's the biggest part of our tours. Like these RVs can cost as much as buying a house, which is fair for the Class A's because you're going to be living in them and driving in them, and then some of the other RVs are like 30,000-40,000, which makes sense.
Especially if you're gonna do long term and it's not gonna be a weekend. You want
for sure
some quality. You want it to hold up, and you have two small children.
For sure.
You can't, like, if it was two teenagers, it'd be a little different. But two small kids, you want everything to work.
For sure.
And to be durable for that duration of time.
Yeah. And so we were just wondering. I mean, we believe God could do a $40,000, $100,000 trailer or motorhome if needed be. You know what I mean? And so we were just like, man, what are we going to do? So we've just been working our faith in all the different ways, and they reached out, and on our list we have a list of like requirements, or I guess prayer requests for what we want in a trailer or specs that we like.
Yeah.
And this one meets all of them. I mean, it might be a couple really small details that it doesn't, but overall, for like a trailer, this is what we want. Like even when we saw, when she was telling us, like, we got the RV, like, oh man, that is nice, and we based off what kind of trailer we would want if we got one based on hers, because it had like a little play area in the back for the kids,
like a patio. It's a toy hauler, so it's got like the drop down that turn, like it's a patio, like a little gated patio, which is really cool.
Really cool. And then that whole room can turn into a play area that they can run and play in, which could be super dope. And that brings us to another prayer request. If you're praying, thank you for praying, all the people praying. If you want to be on the prayer team, send us an email. What? I'm saying people who specifically want to keep praying, pray about all the different stuff. We need that. We need people praying all the time for this tour, because this tour is not just like, oh, we're doing a tour, we're going out, being cool in the RV.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, this is like a God thing, and people are about to be transformed. You know what I mean? So we need to pray the thing up.
Yes, I was just laughing at I think the term
Oh,
prayer
prayer
team.
team.
Sorry.
No, you're good. So now we need a truck to tow it. We need a truck to tow the RV. We need a truck to tow the RV.
And we needed a way to get there, to get the trailer.
Right. So, well, we can get to that. So we need a truck to tow the RV. There's different specs that we need. We need to be able to tow like 15,000 pounds, I think. I have it written down. So a couple trucks we've identified as like a Dodge Ram 2500, Ford 250, and there's like another one. There's like a GMC. There's only a few that tow that much, that can tow that max weight. And so if you know somebody with those trucks, you want to give away those trucks, you own a car dealership, you want to sponsor this tour with the truck, I don't know. We're figuring out, you know, how we can get that. But at least we know we can get there. Like, we know that, okay, if we get there, we have a RV set up. So that's one next step of faith. So what you were going to talk about. So as we've been talking about this and figuring things out, you know, there's like mental obstacles of like, okay, we're in DC, the DC area, they're in Washington. How are we gonna, we have a car that can't tow anything, like can't tow anything massive. So do we sell it? Do we get a U-Haul and then drive it there with the kids? Do we drive our car? Somebody drives a U-Haul, like all these things, right? You could touch on that a bit if you want to.
No, all the things, all the things. There's just a lot of, like, how is it all going to work out? Like, even with the offer, like, such a huge blessing, right? And then there's immediately all these other questions that go along with it. Like, well, okay, so that's great, but how do we get there? Everything that you just said, how do we get there? How we get our stuff there? We had plane ticket, like a credit through an airline, but it was just for Antoine and I. So we were like, well, we got to figure out the kids. And just all these different ways of doing it. And like, even if we sorted out like the best scenario of like how to do it, finances for it, our word, and our, I don't want to say our, because the guy just does whatever he does the way he wants to do it. So we're just like doing the best that we can with the wisdom that God's given us and trying to plan and organize as much as possible within our means, like within what we have, and just trust God for the rest. At least that's where my mindset's been. Like, okay, God, like if this is you, then everything else is gonna be figured out. If not, this was like a huge, like, something to hold on to for me as far as what God can do. Like, even if this isn't the way, the fact that someone offered us to rent their RV, like, is huge. Like, he could do it again, and the person could be right next door to us, or any other way. Like, just
For sure.
trusting that God is going to do it, and I have no idea how, but we'll see. And do everything that we can do, like I said. And, I mean, you can share what happened today because it happened with you or through you, you know? And it's just been like little step by step following God, even if it doesn't make sense to us. And even if it's like, okay, there's a list of things that we have to do today. And I know you decide, I'm going to spend time with God. Otherwise, I don't know what I'm doing during the day.
Right.
Like, I could
For
do
sure.
all these things, check off all the things on
sure.
the list, and still, like, have an unsuccessful day if I don't check in with God
For
and
sure.
get my mind right and see what He wants me to do. And so I'm grateful for you that you do that, even though it can be frustrating sometimes. But I'm really grateful for you that you do that. And I just see today how it
Mm.
benefits greatly, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I
So
mean, I
I'll let you
agree.
share that, but I'm grateful to
Well,
God and for you for just being, you know, being there.
yeah. I mean, thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. That means a lot to me.
Hmm.
And I want to say about that, I think, so for me, a part of my work routine is spending time with God um, for you all listening to this. And that, I don't know, to me, that has seemed super spiritual before. But, but as a part of, I've been on a journey of like mental health and self care the past maybe year and a half at this point, and even before then, but really focusing on like the things that are going to help me be healthy because I started struggling with anxiety, and so had to put some stuff in place, working out, eating a certain way, spending time with God. Spending time with God has always helped like me be at peace, right? And so, but one thing I know about working, especially in entrepreneurship, um, I can get to a place where I'm so ready to work when I get up. Like I can just wake up, let me get not brush my teeth, not do nothing. Just like let's go. Let's all this work needs to be done. It needs to get done. And I just over time, God has been like, yo, you have all the time in the world. Like you have all the time you need. Even though you may feel like you got 2 hours. Like you have enough time. Let's just focus on like if you spend time with me, pastor Pastor Charlie from City Church will say this. Like if we get up and we spend time with God, it's like sharpening an axe to cut down a tree. And there's like
Hmm.
this Abraham Lincoln quote that like if I had I don't know 5 hours to cut down a tree, I would spend the first four sharpening
Sharpening
the
the
head,
axe.
yeah, the axe. And so that's how Pastor Charlie would put that. Like he would say like spending time with God and having a routine, a spiritual discipline of that, of like just sitting with Him, worshiping with Him, praying to Him, will sharpen us and help us be most effective in our day because there's so many things that pull at us. And so for me, there's so many things that can pull at me. I can be easily distracted. And so implementing that has been huge, but even more so when we're talking about business and family or different things because there's so many times I've I go get to work but I felt like something was missing in the day. But then sometimes I spend time with God and didn't really get as much work done as I wanted to, but I felt at peace and I felt like it's okay. I felt like he's like it's okay. Like he's saying this, either I'm Lord of your life and I'm leading it or I'm or you're going to lead it. And so if I'm leading it and you spend time with me and you didn't get everything done you want to get done, that's fine.
Mm.
So I just want to say that because I didn't even think about that today, but I was like, all right, let's spend time with God. And during the prayer part, so I worship, I sing songs, then I pray, and then I read the Bible. And in the prayer part, I felt like God was nudging me, like, yo, go check on these plane tickets. So we have these
Did
Delta.
he say like that? Was he like, yo?
It was like a impression, more so. It was like it's an impression, like yo. That's how it felt. Yes, it felt like yo, go. You need to go check on these credits. So
All
we have
right,
these
just wanted to make it clear.
we have these e credits. We have these e credits from Delta. From we're gonna take a trip. Didn't take it last year. So we have these e credits. We didn't even think about it. I think till you said something about it, and they are. I mean, they're like together like almost like over $1,000 because we were gonna go to Hawaii, and um, they're almost $1,000. And so looking at flying to Seattle, flying to Washington, to like move into the RV, to accept like to step out on faith in that way, we're like okay, let's check it out. So we check it out. You can online. They're like, okay, you can use your credits for you, but not for your kids. Both of our kids are over 2, so we can't do the like them flying for free. But like, because we're gonna do a one-way ticket also.
Hmm.
It was like half of our e-credits were left over, and it's like, well, they don't expire till next December, but it's like, when are we gonna fly? We don't even know when we're gonna fly again. Like, especially if we're doing this tour for a year, like when are we gonna be randomly flying? And we can always use the e-credit, hopefully, before the end of next year. But I don't think we plan to be flying anywhere round trip. And so I was like, it doesn't make sense that we can't apply their tickets. There are kids. The thing that I heard was like, because it has your name on it, it can't be applied. But it's just, that just doesn't make sense in terms of like technology and business. My dad's a computer programmer, so I've been around computers my whole life, and a lot of this stuff is just on the back. It's on the back end. You can always switch some stuff around. Like, it's not, this computer stuff is not static. It's all code. It's all numbers and zeros. Like, there's a way that you can apply somebody's credits to somebody else's credits. But I get why they don't, right? You can't just be like selling your credits to somebody to go on a trip with you. But I'm like, it's our kids. It's our kids, and we don't know when we're going to use the credit. Why don't you just get all your money, Delta? Like, just get all your money, right? So, someone in our small group, Glenn, we were talking about our obstacles with this, and she was like, well, why don't you just call and see if they'll do it? And that's Glenn. That's Glenn's, like, superpower of, like, just every time people say no, she's like, just call and see if they'll do it still. And so I called. I felt that nudging from God during prayer, hey, go check that out. And so I called, and like, you got, everything is pushing you towards like text messaging the companies or the chat line. And so if you want to be on the phone, it's going to be a long time because they're not prioritizing that. But I also know if you actually talk to a person on the phone, they can hear your voice, they can hear the timbre in it, they can like resonate, you all can connect versus like just typing, right? And
Yeah.
so waiting long times to talk to this agent, and you know, so, regular customer service agent, cool dude, Hyman. He's like, I tell him what's up, like, hey man, want to book these tickets. We have e-credits. Our kids are going to come with us. We would love to put them on the credits, but I know that that's not the policy. I see it on here as I'm trying to buy these tickets. It's not working. But is there anything that you can do? He was like, well, our policy is that, they got to be on the e-credit. You can only use the e-credit if it's connected to your name, blah, blah. I'm like, well, what else? Can you do something? So we're going back and forth, and he's basically just gets to the point of any base level customer service rep. That's what you do when you customer service rep. You can't do anything. You just they put like governors on your computer. Like, you really can't do anything. I used to be a customer service agent, and so like there's not much you can do, right? For a reason.
Yeah.
For a reason. And so I get to the end. I just feel like God was like, don't give up. Because during this time, he's like, hold on. So it's been like 10 minutes wait. Then he come back and 10 minutes wait. And one of these waiting times, I was like, man, it's not going to happen. I feel like God was like, don't let this go. Like, don't let this go. You have favor. Like, see if you can talk to a supervisor or something. And so at the end, I was like, hey, man, do you mind if I talk to your supervisor? And he just sounded sad. I was like, nah, man, you've been great. You've been a great help. I just want to see if someone above you, has more jurisdiction to make some of these moves, Because we agreed that, like, we have a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old. First of all, we shouldn't be paying all this money for their tickets. But second of all, like, it makes sense for you all to get your money. Not even for my interest. Like, you're going to get money. Our kids are going to fly with us. Your credit's going to be used. It works for everybody here.
You're a good salesman.
And so I'm going to hold again, like another 10 minutes. But he comes back just like laughing, like in disbelief. He was like, man, this is like your lucky day. Like, Merry Christmas, because my supervisor said we're going to do it. Like, this is a one-time courtesy, but we're going to do it now. Don't let the one-time courtesy stop you. Don't push your boundaries. But just know that they can always do that. It's not, they may have to do some stuff they don't want to do. They can always do that. So remember, always just ask, because they can do that. Don't lie. Don't let them lie to you. Anyways, he's like, "Well, so we're gonna do it." And it did take a little longer on his end to do it, but he did it. That's amazing that he did it. I was so hyped. Now, this took an hour and a half on the phone, like a legitimate hour and a
Hey,
half.
an hour and a half saved us $1,000.
Like 500.
Well, still, whatever. It's worth it.
Yes,
It's
it's so
worth it.
worth
That
it.
was a good hard day at work. You earned us 2 plane tickets.
Yes,
Just like that, in an hour.
that's amazing. Praise God. And so, first of all, if you feel like God is prompting you to do something, just do it. Because I feel like He was nudging me for a few days. But I was just like, I have a certain amount of time I allot for spending time with God. So I'm like, this is not going to fit in this time block right here. Like, and it wasn't. But I'm glad. I'm glad I listened and let go of my plan for the day, for today. Because that's fire. Because it's like, okay, that's one check off the box. Like, how are we going to get there? Well, we got plane tickets right now. You know, if we need to change them, I guess we can change them. But, like, we have plane tickets right now. Okay, so we have that. Then it's the pod. Like, we don't even have that much stuff. Most of our stuff is in boxes right now. You know, get the pod and send it up there. That's like $2,200. And then we'll need, we want to pay like 2 months of the rent for the RV. But, like, now we need a truck. We need $2,200 for the pod. Don't know about the money to rent. At least 1 month's money of rent when we get there, but we are thinking two. So, like, we're right there. We're right where we want to be. And it's so close. It's so close. We just have a couple other dominoes to fall in place. So if you want to help us out with renting the RV for the year, if you want to cover a couple months or the whole year, holler at us, or
Holla.
a portion of the month. If you want to pay for us to send our pod from the DMV, from the DC area to Washington, it's $2,200 if you want to pay towards that, or pay for it all, or I don't know, something that we don't know how to get it there. Reach out to us.
You're so bold. I love it.
This is not gonna happen without help.
Yeah, exactly. I understand. Yes, I agree.
I mean, I've been learning. I've had
I
to learn
agree.
that God is going to use people, and
Yes.
so what better way to make it? I feel like this tour is even more rich as people chip in and do things.
Yes, you're right.
You know what I mean?
You're right.
Because we could muscle it, and we're doing things to generate income, but yeah, we did it versus like we all had a hand in touching people's
Saw it
lives.
come together.
Yeah, because this
Yeah.
thing, I'm telling you, like, I believe that a lot of people are going to be blessed.
Man, yeah. I would love to have like a team of people that we did it together with.
For sure. I
That
think
would
we
be-
will.
That would be awesome.
I think we will.
If you're out there, team.
Yeah. So, a couple other updates. We've sold everything except for things that we're going to give away, like this couch, couple tables, like kitchen tables, like we're going to give that away. Actually, if you're in the area, if you're in the DMV, the DC area, and you need like a table that you can, I don't know, do some arts and crafts on, a couple tables you can do arts and crafts on, let us know. If you need a couch, you can have this couch. But otherwise, we're going to donate these things, but we're going to donate these things, but that's just crazy. That's just crazy that we're here, that we've sold all the stuff that we plan to sell. We got food assistance recently. We've been thugging it. But we got food assistance recently, which gives us a lot of relief, which is a huge blessing.
Yes, huge blessing.
As we,
Because that took forever.
yes.
But
Yes. I mean, this gives us some type of stabilization.
mm-hmm.
Gives some type of stabilization and help us to be able to plan food differently. We have partnership packets coming. So these are for financial partners to help finance the tour. So if you feel called to that, I know there are people like us who are called to go out and do and build the relationships. And I know there are other people who are called to finance stuff like this. So let's partner up. Let's link up and make this tour happen, because you may not want to go out and talk to people, or you may not want to tour the U.S. You might like where you are, but you may want to see it done, right? We got two people here doing it. Um, what else? What other updates? Do you,
The grants?
what about the grants?
Mm, I just see it there. If anyone knows of grants, hit us up.
Yeah.
um, I don't know. I don't know even what to say. Like, type it in the chat. Is there a chat? I don't know. Just put it where we can see it, I guess. Email it to us or.
You can email it to us, or they email it to us, or put it in the comment. Put the link to it in the comments. But
Yes,
we're just looking
in
for
the
grants.
comments.
We applied for a grant. It's a cool grant, actually. We didn't get it, but um, we've been learning about other. We've been learning about other grants, and so we need. Well, we would like to explore the world of grants to help finance this tour if it makes sense. Because a lot of grants have like stuff connected to certain organizations, which could take away from what we're
What
doing.
we want to do, yeah.
So we'll see. So what are our prayer requests? We said our prayer requests.
Yes.
The truck to tow, rent for the RV, U-Haul, the U-Haul pod, grants to help finance this tour, people to be financial partners. And did I say grants?
I think so.
Gotcha. We also need to pray about and talk about selling our car. If we want to do that, and for how much? Because that could pay for the pod, honestly. It could. It could pay for the pod and maybe some rent. So yes, all the people praying, please pray for that. And actually talking about taking this step of faith to go to Washington, even though like we don't have the truck yet and all that kind of stuff, reminds me of the Chicago Miracle. I was thinking about that the other day. I think when we were planning this, I was thinking that like, wow, this mirrors very closely to
Where
the
we're at right
Chicago,
now?
yeah, like the Chicago Miracle, where we knew we were at a. So we'll just get into it. So we were. You go ahead.
Nope.
Oh, we were in Indianapolis, Indiana. This is 2016 during the Great Unknown Tour, the original Great Unknown Tour. We're doing part 2. We were in Indianapolis, Indiana, staying with 2 friends of ours, and they actually, man, shout out to them. They just had a baby. They have 4 kids, and they just had a baby.
A newborn.
A newborn. And so they had
like 2-year-old, 9-year-old, and 14-year-old.
Yeah,
or
something like that. It was like a 2 or 3-year-old. I think she might have been like 4 though. She was
2.
She was 2. Oh,
Yeah.
so it was like a 2-year-old. Yeah, middle school age child, and then like late middle school or early high school child, and a newborn, and us. And we were sleeping in actually one of the kids' rooms. And so it was time to go. It was time to go. We had been there for a little bit, but you know, we didn't have kids yet, so I didn't really know. But now that we have kids, it's like, oh yeah. It was time for us to go. It was time for us to go. And so the next point was either going to Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Well, the next point was Sioux Falls, South Dakota. But originally we had wanted to go to Chicago, but our friend Doug moved from Chicago during the tour, or just before it, I think. And so he didn't live there anymore. So we're like, we're not going to go there, because we had planned our stops based on people who we knew that lived there. And so yeah, but we still wanted to go to Chicago. Marisha had never been, and I think if I remember correctly, you wanted to go. I wanted to go, but I think you wanted to go sent me over the edge, and so we prayed about it. We prayed
Mm-hmm.
like, all right, we know we're supposed to go to Sioux Falls next, but we're right here next to Chicago. It'd be great, if we can go, but how do we, how do we go, God,
Yeah.
And so we felt like
My
he,
thing was just go everywhere we can go. And like Sioux Falls would have been a way longer drive than Chicago. So
uh
I think that's what I mean, and I've heard of Chicago. I had not yet heard of Sioux
Sioux Falls,
Falls,
South
South
Dakota.
Dakota. Man. So, yeah.
Yeah, and so prayed about it. We felt like God was saying, go to plan to go to Chicago for 2 weeks, and there's one problem, big problem. We didn't have the money to do that. A lot of times we would have, well, a lot of times we would have the money to rent the Airbnb for 2 weeks, but we may not have money for anything else. Or, we would have like at least enough money to do that, or money. Yeah, we would at least have money to do that a lot of times.
Yeah. It was usually like just enough.
Right, right. And then I might do a performance at a school or some type of youth organization, and people would give donations, or don't know, somebody was just who liked what we were doing would give donations. Somehow God would provide. And so this time we were okay. We felt like God was like, we believed that God was saying go to Chicago and plan to go there for 2 weeks, but we had enough money for 2 nights at an Airbnb and enough gas to get there.
And just got that too, like
Yeah,
the day
somebody
before we left.
somebody gave it to us, and so we had a choice. We could like continue to stay with the family, which we knew it was time to go. Maybe go back to Ohio. So I'm from Ohio. We had just came from Ohio before Indianapolis. We go back to Ohio, maybe set up shop, because it's just, I think Indianapolis is like an hour and a half, 2 hours. Go back to Dayton and like
Hang
chill till we got more money, or go to Chicago and like trust God. So we trusted God, and
Yeah.
we went to Chicago, and so the idea was like,
Well, trust God, like, what do you mean when you say that? You're trusting God that we would go for 2 weeks.
yes, well, we believed that God was saying go to Chicago and plan to be there for 2 weeks.
You believe.
Okay, correct me. I believe
You believe.
that that's what he was saying.
I believed we had enough money for 2 nights and we had enough gas to get there. And I was going to enjoy those 2 nights and enjoy getting there. From there, I was trusting God to do whatever he was going to do. But I didn't know anything about 2 weeks. But I will say, because you said it a few times, the 2-week thing. And I'm like, all right, we'll see. Like, see how it works out. Like, we'll see what God does. But even if not, I'm cool. But on the way there in the car, I remember, because I was driving, and I don't remember the exact conversation, but I said something like, oh, these 2 nights are going to be fun, or something like that. I just said 2 nights, 2 days. And you were like, no, it's 2 weeks. God said 2 weeks. We say 2 weeks. And I was like, oh, he is serious. He is serious. And I was like, okay, 2 weeks. And it was a little hard coming out my mouth because, one, I wasn't the one that heard it, but it wasn't like anything depended on it. You know what I mean? It wasn't like well, we gotta believe for 2 weeks because we need to be there to do X, Y, and Z. It was just, what's the difference? Like if we're there for 2 days versus 2 weeks. But I remember like, okay, feeling a little convicted by God, like in a good way. Like, you guys are doing this together. Like, your husband can hear from me. And so if he's saying I said 2 weeks, it's 2 weeks, you know? And so I was on board, but still like, how in the world is this going to happen? Like, I was really glad that I was sort of along for the ride, and like the wife, I was really glad to just have your covering. Like, okay, I don't have to do any decision making here. I don't have to make up a plan, ask nobody for nothing. I'm gonna just chill and trust my husband and watch God do his thing and rest up under this canopy of love. Anyway, that was my 2 cents.
No, I think that's important, because I think as couples go through, are journeying or on their journey and trusting God for certain things, it's good to hear the differing perspectives. Because for me, my fervor or intensity about us saying 2 weeks is like, so many times we hear pastors, I mean, you see it in the Bible too, with Jesus in a few different occasions, say like how powerful our words are, especially if God created them with word.
Absolutely.
Created things that we see with word. And it's so important to, and our mind also catches on to things that we say and grabs onto it. And our spirit does too. So just even the stuff that we say casually. So if we're like, these 2 days, like, we are continuing to put something into the atmosphere that God didn't, versus agreeing with what he has already said.
Right.
Right? Like, so I was just like, we got to say, we got to make sure we got to say what God says, because in those moments, here it is, in these moments of stepping out on faith and trusting God, we're so vulnerable to dissenting thoughts. You know what I mean? Like, because we had never done anything like that, it's so easy to say just 2 weeks. Even though God said, 2 days.
2 days.
Even though God said 2 weeks. It's easy to say, I don't know if that's God. Like, let's just do 2 days. But as we get into the story, we'll hear again how important saying what God said helped us out. So we booked the Airbnb. We get to Chicago, drive to Chicago. And again, when we get there, we're like, again, me saying, God said 2 weeks and we're going to be here for 2 weeks. In my heart, I was still wrestling with it of like, yeah, I'm saying it. But God, I don't know. Like, all right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It wasn't like, nah, God can do this. I'm already hyped. We're going to do it. Nah, it was like, man, all right, God, I'm going to trust you. I believe this is what you're saying. I'm going to follow through. We're going to follow through. I believe you're a good God. Okay. And so we got the Airbnb. So we got to Chicago, get to the Airbnb, and Marisha like makes fun of me because she says I have like Christian radar on Airbnb for picking, at least that year, picking like hosts that are Christian, because so many hosts that we did stay with were Christian.
You did, yeah.
And they didn't say anything about being Christian on their profile. And so we get there and they're Christian. But they didn't say they were Christian. I think the husband, first of all, the husband came out and got our stuff with the wife, and he had on like a cross, I think. Like a cross necklace, which, a lot of people who aren't Christian have. But it was something else, too. Maybe just their personality or their
Is that
presence.
radar you got? Is that radar?
And so we got in a conversation about church, and they said, like, they go to a church. Oh, it was Logan Square. We stayed in Logan Square. Um, we went to they go to a church that was in walking distance. They weren't going, but they could, point us to it. And so we went to the church the next day. So that was night one. So we had one more night. We went to the church the next day, and with the church, just like, a lot.
Regular.
Well, inner city, like the new inner city churches are like hipster, predominantly white, young adult churches. Maybe like 100, maybe like 100 people. Looks like they probably do 100 to 200 people on the weekend. Fine, just fine church. Like, I mean, I don't remember anything remarkable at the time. There's nothing bad about it either. It was just, we went to church service. Fine. Went to many different church services that year, all types. So, um, it, you know, church services now are just church services to me. Not all the way, but you know what I'm saying? Like, people are going to do what they do. It's about the community. It's about the bent of the heart of the leadership. Anyway, but let me let that go. Um,
That's another
yes,
episode.
Sorry. Yes. I digress. So we went. It was fine. Church was fine.
Well, I'll say, like, I think why you're giving, like, how church was is because every moment we were like, what's God gonna do? Like, where is he gonna show up? What's gonna happen? How is this gonna happen?
Like, looking for him. Like, yes. So keep your eyes peeled. When you're in a situation like that, like, keep your eyes open
So
for
we're listening
what God is doing.
We're listening to the message in church, like, okay, God, what do you want us to do
Right,
next?
right, for sure,
We're
for
looking
sure, for
around, like,
sure.
when someone passes us by, we're like, are you coming to talk to me?
For sure. Yes. Yes. So yeah. So it was like regular church service. We were kind of like isolated. It was over. No one really talked to us. We were maybe 2 out of like
We went
5 people of color.
2 out of 2.
Oh, so I wanted to give it the benefit of the doubt. I feel like there were a couple more
Well,
because one of the pastors was. I feel like, but maybe that was the next week we came.
maybe 2 out of 3 or 4.
But so I was giving it a bit of a doubt. I was like,
Okay.
there might have been like a couple more.
Okay.
And so
If you include some Latin.
I said people of color.
I know. Okay.
So we get to you definitely stand out though at a church like this, being a person of color. It was like, suburban in the city. So we're leaving. We're about to leave, and I'm just like, yo, we got one more night.
We also talked to everybody
Did we?
we could talk to. Yes.
Oh, we
We
did?
went
I
to
don't
the
remember that.
information booth and we were like, do you guys do any outreaches? Is there any way we can serve? Is there someone we can contact? This is what we're doing.
Oh, I don't even remember that.
To, like, do something with your youth or do something with, and everyone was just kind of like, well, you can email this person.
Yeah.
And okay, is that person here today? No.
Right.
Like, so I think we left with an email or something like that.
Yeah, we did actually. That's right.
Someone's contact or whatever.
Yeah. So that's when I say keep your eyes open, that's what I mean. Is like we were out here just like, okay, God, we got one day. Like, tonight's our last night at the Airbnb. We need to figure something out. Like, let's just talk to people and see what you're up to. If you're up to anything, I don't know. And then so when we were leaving, we were like leaving. Like, you get to the point, like,
we were
if you're at a
outside,
dance and you're like
walking down the stairs.
and you want to talk to that girl, talk to that guy, and they like, I don't know, disappeared, or then you can't get their attention, and you just like, I guess I just not gonna be tonight. And you just go to the car and go home.
That
like,
was vivid.
like,
okay.
That's how
a feeling.
Yes, I know that feeling. And so that's what this feeling was of like, I guess we're not gonna talk to anybody here. Let's go ahead and go. So as we're walking down the stairs, a guy stops us. And is like, hey man, hey, you all, is this your first time here? Where you from? Giving us that whole spiel. And we're like, no, we're in Chicago for 2 weeks doing this tour. about purpose and identity, and we need a place. I don't think we even said we need a place to stay. I think
We didn't.
how did that come? Do you remember how that came up?
He was asking all the questions. Like, he asked, well, we were saying what we were doing, and he asked how long are we staying, and you said 2 weeks. And
when we find a place,
he was like, where are you staying now? And we said Air BNB for 2 nights, and his like eyes lit. He's like, where are you staying next? And we were like, we don't know. And his eyes just lit up.
For sure.
And he was like, oh, well, my wife and I we lead a small group tonight. And, I don't know what you guys think, but I would love to have you guys stay with us. We're
for sure.
Just like hopped on it like that. And I was like, whoa. Like, you know how when something is like really good, you're like, whoa.
Well, I was gonna say outside of Christianity, because in Christianity this stuff is normal, like it's biblical, even like it says in the Bible, like as believers we should be open to having people in our homes, especially like people doing missionary stuff. But like outside of Christ, like that sounds so crazy.
Yeah.
That sounds so wild. Like you just meet somebody and you about to stay with them. Like that is some crazy stuff.
Yes.
Shout out to Jesus though.
Yeah.
Shout out to Jesus. And that, I mean, that has happened. I've lived with people like that. Like I've lived with people who just took me in, and it happened on a tour, so it was normal. So I'm just, the kingdom of God, the currency of the kingdom of God is faith. And so these things can happen. And so we ended up, you can go into it, you were talking.
No, well, I was like, can you ask your wife?
Yes. He was like, you should probably ask your wife. I was like, she's right.
First. But other than that, like him and Antoine were having a great conversation, just very candid and down to earth. And he was telling us about himself and asking a lot of questions about what we were doing, and seemed just really genuine, and like he had a heart for God and a heart for God's people. And so we met his wife and there, like at that moment, and she was like, oh wow, like nice to meet you guys, and sure, like if my husband's invited you, then you're invited. And then they invited us to come to their small group that night, and just kind of probably get to know us a little more, and for us to get to know them. And so when we went to that, like when we went to their house for that, I just felt it was weird because we switched up, like we left after 2 weeks usually of each place, but you just get connected with people so fast when there's, what do you call it, like-mindedness or camaraderie, or just an understanding of this is what you're doing, we think it's cool, we want to come alongside you and do whatever we can to support, and just invite you in, and like, what do you know what I mean, invite you in, and love on you a bit and stuff, because there's a lot of people that,
and I think I want to support that. Like I want to see this thing that God's doing keep moving forward.
Yes, absolutely. We come across a lot of people that just think we're crazy, like Christian and non-Christian, family, not family. So it's just, it feels really good, and it felt really good to be there. And so I don't know, that's all I was gonna say.
No, yeah. And so back to what I was saying about faith talk, when he was asking, like, I mean, I felt like Holy Spirit was standing next to me and was like, you say 2 weeks. How long you gonna be here? We are going to be here for 2 weeks, even though we didn't have the next place to stay.
Yeah.
But like, it was speaking in faith, not like I'm believing for. Like, we're gonna be here for 2 weeks, and something about a place to stay or whatever. And for what I think he heard was like, well, they're gonna be here for 2 weeks. They need some place to stay, so they're not staying in the car. Like, let us stay with us, you know. And it was that faith talk of this, like, we're staying here for 2 weeks. That was like, well, they need a place for the rest of their time. Let them stay with us. And their place, they had like a condo, I guess you would call it, in a great part of, I think it was either the church was in Humboldt Park, and I think they lived in Logan Square or Wicker Park. But it was like, it was a gentrified area. I'm sorry to all the native Chicagoans. It was a gentrified area, so it was nice. Bike paths. Had like
Walkable.
Right, super walkable. Had like PTSD because it's like I remember like a Dodge Charger was like blacked out driving down the street one night, and I was like, oh snaps. But I was like, where are you though, Antoine? They had bike passes. So Chicago's a huge biking city. They gave us their bike passes to like the metro bikes. We rode around on those, rode to our date on that, went to the store on that.
Yes. We had so much fun.
So much fun.
Went to what do you call it?
You have to do this. Went to the beach. My wife is from LA. I lived in LA. That's where we met. I'm going to do this when I hear people talk about a Chicago beach.
But it was like
the Chicago beach.
90 degrees plus humidity, so it felt like 120 to me.
But it's a lake.
I definitely wanted to be by the water, and we rode our bikes there.
Yes, we did. Yeah.
Whew.
We went on a couple of dates. We got to, their small group was really cool. It was like a rooftop small group, and they're like condo
It wasn't a rooftop small group.
It was.
They had a roof. They had like
we met on the roof.
Deck in the back. Not on the roof.
No, it was up.
It was just the second
it
or
was
third
up.
level.
It was up,
It
though.
was up. Okay.
Yeah. It was like community.
That was cool.
Thing.
Like the whole street had those.
Yeah. It was
but
like
that's where they held it. I don't think they called it.
I know, but just for the people, like, we met on a rooftop in Chicago. Like, that's cool in the summertime shy.
Okay.
Like,
yes.
It was cool.
It was nice.
It's a cool vibe. Yeah, they were all cool people. We were in a spare bedroom, had privacy, cool TV. It was just a blessing. We got to have. There was this Italian ice place that was around the corner called Miko's Italian Ice. It's so good. It's so good. It was like kind of like how I picture New York style, Chicago style too. It's like there's a building or like a brownstone, and it's like in the building, but out the window right there.
Down the stairs.
Yeah, like
so you're already on the sidewalk, and you go down the stairs to a window to this little old man
serving Italian ice
in his tank top.
Yeah.
It was awesome. It was so good though, and it was like around the corner from where we stayed, so we went there often.
We got
and they serve it to you in the styrofoam cup with the little plastic spoon.
And it's not like a snow cone. I hate snow cones.
No.
I hate snow cones.
Oh.
Like, I hate snow cones.
Jeez.
But it wasn't like gelato. It was like this in between kind of fusion thing. It was so good.
Italian ice.
What else? We got to serve at a lot of places.
Yeah.
I served at a youth organization, and
we served at the church.
We served at the church.
Served at a youth organization.
You did a dance workshop with some women from a church or a small group?
From that church.
From a different location.
Different
location of that church.
Small group, yeah.
And then we met a guy who became a friend of ours at that time, who we stayed with when we were passing through Chicago again, and he bought me a winter coat. And he just had a big impact on me at that time with how he was thinking about following Jesus and how that connected to the environment, environmentalism.
I feel
and
like we,
his and
spend a lot of time with him.
yeah, and his effectiveness. Um, his name is Daniel, and his effectiveness with serving youth also, like, it was just really cool spending a lot of time with him, talking to him. He's from Argentina, no, Costa Rica, sorry. Well, his parents lived in Costa Rica. I don't remember if he's from there or not. And being there also connected us with this youth organization in Chicago called Grip Outreach for Youth, and they helped us formulate like how we would get donations to move to New York, because that's what we're planning to do after the Great Unknown tour, was move to New York, but to start a youth organization, a nonprofit youth organization. So they were giving us, he was helping us figure out how to do that, but then their organization was just incredible. What else? What else did we? Oh, we got to meet up with our friend. So our friend, can we just say her name? Is that okay? Can we say her name? Miranda. Sorry.
Miranda.
So it's our friend Miranda
Love
from.
it.
I met her doing work with a church, with a youth ministry in San Diego when we were living in LA, and then just before we even met and got married, then we got married and we all became friends. And then during the tour, I think they had moved away to Chicago.
No, during the first tour is when I met her. Our first stop which was San Diego. I met her.
Gotcha. So we met
And
her.
then we met up again later when we were in Chicago. I don't know how many months that was, but
That was like August. That was like late
On our
July,
way
early
back.
August. Yeah, because we were in South Dakota in September, and we went to Yellowstone like the end of September, I think.
yeah.
No, yes, because
Because
your
we were in
birthday we were in
Seattle
Seattle.
by my birthday.
Yes. So, Miranda, was a friend from California. We got to meet up and hang out with them. I had never really got to hang out with her outside of like me coming to do music and engage with the youth. But like we got to hang out with her and her kids, and just connect and talk about lots of different stuff as it pertains to faith. I mean, it was 2016, so a lot was going on politically. We were talking about that stuff. But it was just cool to connect with other people we had known from other places, because Miranda, we're still friends with, and is the person, her and her husband, Josh, shout out to Josh too, who's offering the RV.
Yeah.
So what would have happened? I can't say that we wouldn't have still been friends, but what would our relationship have been if we never had that time to connect all those years ago?
Mm-hmm.
Right? If we hadn't said yes and stepped out on faith and went to Chicago.
Yeah.
And it was a desire to go to Chicago. Like, it wasn't just like, God is like, I want you to go to Chicago even though you didn't plan it. It was like,
No.
we were like, we want to go.
We want to go.
But it feels kind of selfish because no one lives there. We don't know. And God was like, no, go ahead. Go for 2 weeks. You should plan to go for 2 weeks. Marisha hasn't gone. You should go.
Yeah.
And I was like, and so the fact that he honored, do I want to say honored that desire, and we went.
The fact that our desire fell in line with his.
Yes. Praise the Lord for that. Yeah. And so we got to hang out with Miranda, went down to the pier.
The pier?
Is that it's a pier. It's like a Chicago thing. It's like boats in the lake. It's like restaurants down there.
Oh, the downtown.
It might not be called the pier. Something.
Area?
I think it's called the pier.
I don't know.
It's like a pier. Like,
it looked like.
It's like ships come through. Like downtown. I guess it is downtown. I don't remember what it's called. Went on a date there. Got to ride bike. We talked about riding bikes, but it was significant for me because as I finally felt comfortable riding bikes in the city. Like, I hadn't done that before. And so in Chicago, that's how they get around. That's how people get around. And so it just helped me feel comfortable because at 5 o'clock, rush hour, there's like 100 bikes in the bike lane. And it just helped me feel comfortable with.
It was fun, and we like being active.
Riding a bike.
It was fun.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a Chicago miracle.
Chicago
A couple takeaways
miracle.
from that are, um, it's okay to bring your desire to God.
Mm.
Um, say, repeat what God says and hold on to that because it matters more than you think. And keep your eyes open. Keep your eyes open. Faith without works is dead. Faith without works is dead.
Mm-hmm.
Faith without works is dead. That's in the book of James. He says, and what faith without works is dead means is we can say that we can say like, okay, God said we're going to. Well, let's take it back to this tour. Or this tour right now, we can say,
Yeah.
God said do this tour, right? They offered us the RV, but we could be like, all right, God, well, how you're gonna give us the money to get there, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do that, but we need to put in some work. I needed to call Delta and be like, hey, I know online it says that this can't happen, but can this happen this way? Or I need to go on U-Haul and price out all that stuff to figure out the price for it, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so when God is asking you to do something, even if you don't have the resources for it, do all that you can do to put yourself in position
Yeah.
to do it. Like us right now, selling all the stuff to move out, we haven't, until now, we're like, weren't really on the edge of leaving, but it's like, let's be prepared. Like, all this stuff is in boxes. So, like, do the work that you can do while you wait on God or wait on the next step from God, and like have your eyes open to how he's going to provide. Like God, is this you right here? Like, I know you said we're going to do this. Is this you right here? Like, when we were talking to the PJ guy, I could have blown him off like, hey bro, I don't know you.
We're
Like,
about to leave.
we leaving, right? But he stopped and was curious, and so it's like, all right, God, I don't. What's he doing? Was it, you know what I mean? Um, were you gonna say something? I felt like you were gonna say something.
I was gonna wait till you were done.
Oh, okay.
I have a takeaway, I guess,
Okay.
but I can wait.
All right. God is waiting on you to obey Him to provide. We were in Indianapolis. We were in Indianapolis, and we were like, all right, we don't have enough money yet to be there for 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Should we stay here or go back to Dayton and wait, or just go and trust God to provide? I mean, that is so crazy to think that we did that. Like, that is so wild to me. Oh, also, those things sound crazy, but in those moments, the Holy Spirit gives us power and boldness to step out on faith to do that. So when you're not operating in that power and boldness, it seems crazy, but at the time, intellectually, it's like, this is crazy, but it didn't feel crazy. We had peace. But go back to God waiting on you. He's waiting on you to provide. So we could just have sat there and been like, we're not going to go till we get the money, but um, Bible says that faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So like faith, this action, this action on your taking action on your belief is the substance, the thing that you can see, tangibly feel. Is the action. Faith is the substance of the things you hope for. And so if you're hoping for to go on this trip or to be there for 2 weeks, you need to put some substance. You need to put your boots on the ground. You need to put the tires on the road and get moving to show God that you believe what he says is true and that he's going to honor it, because he had it already set up for us with the Airbnb, with
Yeah.
meeting PJ and Jacqueline,
Yeah.
with that particular church on that particular day, because they went out of town that week, I think.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and that couple who hosted us for the Airbnb, like, he had all that stuff already lined out that we couldn't see, so there was nothing to worry about.
Mm-hmm.
And so we stepped out on faith, and boom, 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 he
Mm-hmm.
responded. And don't, oh, here, yeah, I said don't wait on him providing to obey. Like, just do all the stuff that you can do. Do all the things that you can do. Do all the things that you can do. and sometimes it's going to take you. I think you'll feel it.
Yeah, each time we did the next step, provision came from that.
Mm.
Like saying yes to staying with the couple. Like we met more people who invited us to go serve at the food place.
Mm.
And then from there, I met like we were just telling our story and a girl overheard me talking and she was like, could you do that dance workshop here? Like, I know some girls. Let me get it together and I'll call you. Then I did that. I said yes, even though I did not plan on doing anything on that tour. And then provision came from that. Like, each thing we did, each time we said yes to God, like provision came from that. And it was really cool.
Really cool. Really
because
cool
it
to
was
see.
like for me at that point in Chicago, I was seeing like the more than enough. Like it kind of overflowed to where we did fun stuff for
Yes.
us. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That didn't
Yes.
even. It
Yes.
seemed like
Yeah.
we're supposed to be working all the time and like we're serving for free. Like, but we're like bike riding and it's raining and it's hot and we're having fun and going to the beach and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
but that, I think from the beginning, that was part of what God wanted us to do too, is like
Right.
explore and experience Him in all these different ways, like through all these different people, through all these different types of churches, through all these different like cities, like going to a different place, just going outside your hometown broadens your mind so much, and I think it helps you get closer to God. I
Yeah.
really do. Like even if it's not nature, you know what I mean? For me, nature definitely gets me closer to God. That's how I came to know God. But just anywhere outside your comfort zone, you know, stretches your mind, helps you get to know God differently, which is like what could go wrong with that? So I think that's something that he wants us to do now with this tour also, and even lean more into that. And, you know, it seems like, I mean, yes, God wants us to rest, but it seems like rest, but it is like spending time with him when you rest, you know, to do the fun things, like to take the time out and go on a hike with the kids or make sure we go to the national parks and not just drive past them to get to the next place.
Yeah.
And look for like where can we serve or where are we like interviewing someone and like let's just drive straight there. Like what's the in between? Like what does God want to do?
Yeah.
I don't know why I started saying that, but that would be like one of my takeaways is just the like importance of having a relationship with God. Like if you don't have one or you know someone that doesn't have one, what like it can open up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Open up a whole different world. I mean, there's a whole heaven and the kingdom is there, but God wants us to experience heaven here on earth. And I think we forget about that sometimes. And God just has so much for us. And so to just have a relationship with him, like forget about, like even if you already know him, like forget about all the like do's and don'ts and status and like ways. If am I doing this? Am I praying right? Am I going to church right? Am I doing my Bible right? Like just have a relationship with him, like talk to him, find out who he is and what he's made you for. I think that's what it's all about.
Hey, we can end right there.
Okay.
You can end right there. Thank y'all for watching and listening to the pod.
Yes. Thank you. We have fun. I hope you have fun.
Yeah, this is a lot of fun. I'm glad we get to do this. It's a blessing to do this. I also want to say thank you for everyone who's praying for us.
Yes, thank you.
Um, it has been it's been very challenging. Of like, are you really going to do this, God? Like, this is a big thing. And so, thank y'all for being here on the journey. Just even doing this podcast before we get out into the road was a leap of faith. Of like, all right, well, let's at least start doing the podcast, talking about what God's doing before we get out there, to like show what's going on in real time, so that as once the tour starts, people can see like we've lived it and went through maybe what they're going through or what they're going to go through. So thank you for the prayer, because this is, I mean, honestly, it's hard work. It's been hard work getting here. It's been hard work getting here, and I feel like God has been like, do not quit, man. You're right here on the precipice, about to cross the threshold. Like, do not quit now. Just put in a little bit more work. I got you. So, thank y'all. All right, y'all. Say yes to the great unknown with God.
Because you'll never know what miracles are waiting for you when you embrace your adventure with Him.
See you next time. Peace. Let's see if the video's still recording. I feel like we've been going a long time.
Nope, only an hour and 10 minutes.